Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Instant Match Reaction. Yeah, been here before, haven't we, Kenny? Another really poor afternoon, but an afternoon that shouldn't surprise anyone. Really, that taught us today nothing that we didn't already know and nothing that we haven't already seen throughout this season. Yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. Rangers don't suddenly find themselves in there today because of weeks of bad form. They find themselves in there because of the summer and how much we made a mess of that. And it's quite simple because this team lacks so much all over the pitch. Kenny, we'll get into it, but welcome, my man.
Hi guys. Disappointing afternoon. No complaints whatsoever. Really beaten by a team a bit more quality up front than we have, that's for sure, and wanted it more. I think that's what kind of disappoints me a little bit. I think they worked harder than us, put it that way, which is disappointing. But as you say, not entirely unsurprising.
I don't know if they worked hard on us. I don't know if they wanted it more than us. They managed to physically bully us because, as Ali McCoy says, and as we've all said all season, Amrit, this is a team of wee boys. Good afternoon, mate. I'm not sure even you will be able to put a positive spin on that one, my man.
Well, this is the first instant post-match reaction I've done since I've been a member of the team, and I'm feeling pretty raw, Stevie. If I'm honest, I'm angry. I'm pissed off because we had an opportunity today, a really glorious opportunity to turn the screw and really start to turn the season round, and we've just failed at the first hurdle, and it's really, really disappointing. I just feel empty. I really do, because they didn't give us anything to attach hope to today at all.
Yeah, sadly, gentlemen, it's nothing that we didn't already know. We will go through the points of the game, absolutely. This team is physically weak. They are mentally weak, and they cannot do it. There's a real lack of quality throughout. That's why we were so pleased when we beat Hibs on Monday night, because it wasn't that we deluded ourselves into thinking this was wonderful again. It was the fact that we won and we picked up the points. Rangers are fourth in the league at this moment in time, and every single bit of it, they deserve to be. There is no quality in the team throughout. We didn't look like scoring. We didn't create any chances again for our front men. And the one goal that we did score right with the last kick of the ball was created very much from our own persistence. Our biggest threat once again is Fernandes, and we just don't have it. There's nothing that I'm going to say today that is going to surprise anyone. I'm not having criticism of Danny Rule. I've seen a few comments in here already. Rules this and rule that. Nonsense. Danny Rule's dealing with a squad, Kenny, that is absolutely shite. It has no quality. It has no leaders. We'll talk about the goals we conceded, and we'll understand from that as well. But I'm not having it with Danny Rose. I'm really not. Nobody would be able to do better with this team. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. So it's for me goes down to the quality of player we have, and we just don't have it. Whatever happens in January, it's not going to be enough to fix this. The club are aiming for 3 and 4 players. That'll be enough to put a band-aid on a broken leg, even if we do get it right. And that's a big ask considering our recruitment recently. Nothing about this, Kenny, was a surprise today. Nothing at all. But we do have to, without going into the individual stuff yet, this team aren't good enough. This team are weak-willed. This team are physically inept. This team don't win headers. This team don't win second balls. This team cannot take advantage of things. This team do not have the quality. And it's the same old story every single week. It doesn't matter how you set them up. It doesn't matter what you do with it. You're setting them up to try and sort inadequacies all over the pitch. And that just proved it today when it comes to watching us individually, yet again, much like the European game, self-destruct.
It's all about quality, mate. It is. No matter what way we try and spin this, it's about quality and the lack of it. We make basic mistakes at the back. We cause our own downfall. We don't take chances. I've just seen it there that our XG is twice what Hearts is today, but we were strictly second best for most of that, I thought. And for me, it is one of those things. I understand what you're saying about Danny Rule. He threw the kitchen sink at that today. He chopped, he changed, he tried as many combinations as he could. And again, I don't know what else to say. For me, it's just about quality. What disappointed me most, and the reason I've said that about wanting it more, is the amount of second balls. After the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we barely won a second ball, Stevie. They were first to everything, and every loose ball they were coming away with. The gaps in our midfield is a concern for me. An inability to take chances, and then one of those, as I say, situations where you cause your own downfall. You make these fundamental errors that really frustrate as a supporter. And I've said it on here before. It's something my son has said to me, and I'll say it again, that we have a leadership group in our squad that needs emptied, Stevie. If that's your leaders that are causing time and time again that are causing this, I don't understand where the young boys that are in our squad are going to learn from. Because if it's not Jack Butland, it's James Tavernier. If it's not James Tavernier, it's John Souttar. And I'm not here to sit and pick on anybody. We're just not good enough. But that is my issue at this minute in time. The experienced players are letting us down as well, Steve. It's not just the young boys.
Yeah, because the experienced group isn't good enough. We know that. That's there's nothing surprising about that, Amrit. We can talk about heart, we can talk about desire, you can talk about physicality. These players just don't have it. And we can make excuses, we can try our very best, but they simply don't have it. And even the players that we do think are better, and there is a few, if you look at the likes of Gassama, Mikey Moore, etc., they're just not capable at this level. So, and they don't have the options around them, they don't have the quality. I feel like I'm repeating what I've been saying for 6 months, Amrit, that this is not on Danny Rule. It's not on the situation we're in. You can argue about tactics, we can talk about all that, and we will. This is on what happened in the summer, and a complete nightmare of a transfer window, bringing in players that just aren't good enough. And when you get to a game like today and the pressure's on, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was guilty of believing that we could turn this season around, not because of what I'd seen from the players, but because of the belief that I had in Danny Rule's capacity and capability to inspire, to lead, to motivate, and to try and get the best out of these guys. And I think since he's come in, he has an example of results which I think support that argument. But in all honesty, today we were exposed for the team that we are, and all of our deficiencies and lack of ability, lack of cohesion, lack of any sort of fight or courage or bravery. It all came to the surface this afternoon in an almighty resounding thud. And, you know, I felt like I'd been harpooned in the thorax. It was that bad. But you look at these players, Stevie, and yes, we admit that they don't have the quality, but quality doesn't mean anything if you put effort in. That's all we want as Rangers fans, and you're not getting that. Yes, okay, you lose the ball up the park. That's fine. These things happen. It's a game of football. But the minute you lose it, you should be on your bike. You should be bursting an artery to get back to reclaim that ball. And they're jogging and they're nonchalant and passive. They're not really that interested in trying to recover. And that really hurts because that's the bare minimum that we expect. That's the bare minimum that we deserve. And, you know, the guys coming off the bench, I mean, what could they do? They just think, like you said, Danny Rule was throwing everything at it to see if something would stick. I mean, he was that desperate, he even brought on the Alsatian. And, I mean, the best place for him is in the kennel. Let's be honest, he should be nowhere near that team. But because he's so desperate, he has to try something. And it's not on Danny Rule at all for me. There's only so much he can do. He can only cook with the ingredients he has. And the ingredients are just not very good, Stevie.
No, and it's nothing we didn't know already, Kenny. Rangers had the ball in the net the first 20 odd minutes when that cross came in. Fernandez Miofsky adjudged to be offside. We've already seen some lines being drawn this afternoon. It's very questionable to say the least, but it is what it is. And then aside of that, Mikey Moore has a shot. At that point, it's a good save. It comes back to Mike Homa. He kind of it's deflected wide. And that was the end of Rangers in the first half, because they very easily begin to default and lose the battles. Cammy Devlin begins to run the game. I made a shout that we should go and sign Cammy Devlin on a Bosman on Friday night, and people laughed at me and said, Stevie, you know fuck all. Well, you know, Cammy Devlin's available for nothing, and I look at our midfield three of Raskin, Diamande and Connor Barron, and I watch them win nothing, dictate nothing, give the ball away plenty, and I watched him dictate that whole game today. So maybe, just maybe, we should stop turning our nose up at people that are right in front of us. He begins to boss the game, and the goals then come. The first one, Kenny, comes from Jack Butland. The ball's at his feet again. We've talked about this. The fizzing low clearances, it comes out. Devlin wins a header. Raskin has to then intercept. It goes out for a corner. We are set up appallingly. It goes to 2v1, and it had already been 3-2 down on the side. And we don't learn. It goes to 2-1. And the boy easily crosses it in, and we've got Connor Barron marking Stuart Finlay at centre half, and he powers a header in for 1-0. It's just a catalogue of self-destruction once again from Rangers, from Butland to our setup to the weakness that we can't get any physicality near to win headers and stuff like that. And yeah, Hearts are 1-0 up.
Yeah, Jack Butland's distribution has been pretty poor of late. There's no question of that. However, what you would say is that the corner is not, you know, the goal ultimately isn't down to him. The corner is just defended appallingly. It's just so bad. Everything about it is quite pathetic, to be honest. And how do I say it? I'm just getting fed up watching this, where guys have all the time in the world to sit there and pick their spot where they want to put their cross, because it's not getting shut down properly, particularly on that side, on our right hand side. It's just over and over and over again. It's a fine header. It's a cracking header because it's just behind him and he's buried it. So fair play to him for that. But on Cammy Devlin and the boy Magnuson, they were the two best players on the pitch for me today. They just absolutely bossed that. From about 20-25 minutes in, they just won everything. They bossed the middle of the park, and we all know that if you don't boss the middle of the park, you aren't going to win games, because that's where games ultimately are kind of controlled, and that's what we didn't have in that game, was a huge element of control at all. Quite a lot of ball, and did nothing with it really. And for me, I'm going to say this, and I don't care what people think. There looks to me as that there's 7, 8 of that Hearts team that would get into our first 11. That's pathetic from us. Genuinely, and I mean that in no disrespect to Hearts whatsoever. They were the better side today, deserved to win. But when we're in a situation as Rangers where 7 or 8 of the Hearts team are better than ours, what a shit show our recruitment's been. And that's kind of all I really have to say on it. Just really disappointed in the way that we've defended that goal, Stevie. I just find it, it's just like watching a bad old movie on repeat over and over and over again. And at some point, it needs addressed. And, we've been saying this for too long. Just defend properly and take ownership, show leadership, all these things that we just don't do, Stevie. And it's over and over again. So, as you said at the top of the show, mate, this is no real surprise to any of us. It's just disappointing.
Amrit, second goal then comes quite quickly, and once again it's a catalogue of errors from Rangers. Don't win the first header, don't win the second, and then Shanklin gets it. It's a really tight angle, and you think we should be okay. He gets a shot on target. It's not a great shot. It's a low, kind of hard drilled shot. It's bread and butter for the goal. He doesn't move his feet, and then decides to go with his knee. It's just a complete faux pas from Jack, and probably rocked a wee bit by the goal he's just conceded, and it's 2-0 and it's done and dusted, and it's all self-inflicted. I mean, we can blame Butland, and yeah, he's got to be doing 100% better, But the two headers before, we don't even get near players. And it's not like these are big 6-foot guys winning. It's just guys with more desire than we have, and more physicality than we have, and just the will and the want. And we're all standing watching. Once again, we don't track Shankland after the headers. It basically goes 1, 2, 3, goal, and we're still sitting watching it happen right in front of us. It's just another horrible moment. And I spoke about this. It's not like Hearts, ripped us apart in these moments. It's individual moments of errors, of lack of quality that once again does it for us.
Yeah, so a collection of individual and collective errors. The thing is, Stevie, okay, the first goal's gone in, and we know the errors that were involved in that. But as a team, they've got to have the strength of character and resolve, the strength of mind to settle themselves down and say, right, we're a goal down. Let's regroup. Let's go. Let's keep it nice and tight for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then let's play ourselves back into the game again, because we were doing well for the first 25 minutes or so. But in order for the team to cultivate that type of strength of character, there needs to be leaders in the team to have these conversations with the players. And that comes from your captain, it comes from your senior players, but nobody's doing that. So we were rocked. We were still on the ropes. We were just about surviving. And then we've been hit with the second goal sucker punch, and the game's killed. And like you say, not winning the second balls, just completely off it. You could see that we were scared like a rabbit in the headlights, and then it's self-inflicted pain, and we're just compounding our own misery here by just 4 minutes of madness and losing the game. You can say what you want about Jack Butland. Everybody watching this and everybody that watched the game knows that Jack Butland was at fault for that goal. There's no question about that. But Jack has also simultaneously been the saviour on many occasions as well. So I'm not going to go too hard on Jack Butland. We all know that he has a mistake in him, and we've got evidence of that, not just this season, but last season as well. But if other players do their job, Shankland's getting nowhere near that. The opportunity doesn't present itself. So it's not just Butland. Ultimately, he's made the final mistake, but there was mistakes before that led up to the goal. So this is a collective shortcoming for all the players, and it's really disappointing because, like I said, up until 25 minutes, I thought we were holding our own, and then we've just gone in on some sort of self-destruct suicide mission in 4 minutes and lost the game.
Yeah, and we do make changes, and he does try and throw the proverbial at the wall, Kenny, but by that point the game's done. We didn't create too much in the second half. If you want to be fairly honest, Shankland should have had another 2, and we could have been we could have and probably should have been 4-1 down. We aren't. We managed to, or 4-0 down as it would have been at that point, but we do manage to create a couple. Fernandes has a header at the back post. Fernandes has a header from the corner. Connor Barron comes on and somehow manages to take a couple of corners that, or takes over corners and manages to take some corners that actually set Hearts up. But there's nothing in there at all. Second half wise, we do score in the very last kick of the ball, and to be fair to Chermiti, it's actually quite decent. But by then it's an absolute waste of time. Danny Rule has literally thrown the kitchen sink at it. There's not much else he probably can do. And, we can talk about tactics and Danny Rule, and we will in a minute. But I just don't think we've got the quality, Kenny. And, what do you do? So the game finishes 2-1 to Hearts. And listen, it should have probably been more. They were good for it. They played it exactly the way they should have done. Took their moments, and we can't because we don't have the quality. Yeah, Chermiti gets one at the end, fine, but it's very, very much too little, too late. Nothing in the second half surprised me that we don't create opportunities. We don't create. It's not like we're peppering teams, and the chances we do have comes from a set piece, and it comes from a ball in at the back post. The amount of times Max Aarons hits the first man, he offers very little. He's steady. That's it. James Tavernier again, miles away from it. Raskin, Diamandi, absolutely nothing there. Connor Barron runs around a lot, no quality. Sorry, folks, if that disappoints people, but he doesn't. There's nothing up top. There's no movement. The lack of movement from our forwards is really, really poor. Mikey Moore tries to create stuff, but he's got very little happening. And the defence has always got a mistake in it. There's nothing today that we saw that should come as a surprise to us. And ultimately, that second half, you never felt Rangers were going to get back into it. You never felt we had 2 goals in us to even pull level. It is everything that we've spoke about for 6 months.
If we were going to get into the game, we had to come out in the first 10, 15 minutes of the second half and stamp authority on the game. And we actually didn't do that at all. And that's kind of the concern for me, that you go in, you've had a shocker for 5 minutes, you go 2-0, you're 2-0 down, you see out half time, because I was actually worried we were going to lose a third goal before the half time whistle. But we come in, we go in, we come out with, for the second half, I beg your pardon, we brought Chermiti on and changed the shape a little bit, and you look at it and you think, well, nothing's really changed. We're trying different things, but again, sadly, it's just coming down to the quality of a player of the calibre of signing that we've made, Stevie. And I agree with you. What I really did get a bit hacked off the amount of times that, whether it was Barron, Diamandi, Raskin and Tavernier or others, Max Aarons, were actually giving the ball away when you were trying to create, and one pass and they were away again, over and over and over again. And I think that's what concerns me, how easy it was for Hearts to sit in and just take the transition through a bad ball and just get into our penalty box at will. And that should be a concern. And that's where I would, if I've got any reservations at all about Danny Rule, it is some of that kind of thing, Stevie, that it's all right throwing the kitchen sink at it, but we've still got to be fully aware, and Danny himself has got to be fully aware of the calibre of player we have at the back, because it's not good. And that's the kind of bottom line, that when you're matching up against Kizaridis, Shankland and Braga, with all respect to our players, all three of them are better than the players they're marking up against. So no wonder it's so easy. And I think that is my issue, that we were leaving ourselves two at the back an awful lot when they were perfectly capable of playing through us. So again, as I said, Stevie, we can sit here and moan about individuals. There's no point here. We're just not good enough. We have a bunch of players that, if you're being 100% honest here, we kind of need as best we can to empty that squad. And that ain't an easy job, but that's kind of what's required, with all respect to every single player that's on our books. There's very few of them good enough, is there?
No, as I said, today doesn't change anything, Amrit. The second half for Rangers was a bit of a non-event. It could have got worse. It didn't. We do get one back in the end, which means very little. Did you see anything in the second half, or even the first half, that surprised you, or at least gave you hope or whatever? Or is it the same old story until we change this? Because I don't see how it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chermiti did fairly well, given what we've seen from him up until this point. He wanted to work hard. A few times he held the ball up quite well, and he was playing it off and trying to get the ball moving forward. So that was fairly positive, and he seemed to try an awful lot when he was on. Asgard, just the usual, just sort of the game bypasses him. He just sleepwalks through games, so there wasn't really much hope there. I think it's just the sort of disarming reality now that we're in, Stevie, where we're just all begging for January to come round, and we're all pinning our hopes on that, and that somehow there's going to be a magic wand that's going to transform this squad and get out all the duds and bring in superstars, and everything's going to be fine overnight. And that's what we would love to see, but the reality is that's not going to happen. This is going to be a long, painful, arduous process as we stumble towards the end of the season, winning some games, drawing some and losing some. And we're going to have this constant flux in our emotions, where it's never going to be stable, it's never going to be standardized or linear. It's constantly going to be up and down. Stevie, on Friday, the three of us were on the pod. We were all fairly upbeat. Even you were pleading with the players through the pod to do well, and you were encouraging them, and you were positive, and you really wanted to see them to go out and make a job of it today. And now we're crashing back down to reality. And we got a reminder today of the fact that, listen, guys, this is not a fairy tale. And Danny Rule has perhaps created a bit of a fairy tale for us since he's come in, because he's got some good results in the league. But ultimately, the players were exposed for what they are. And it's just a set of players that aren't good enough to play at the level that we need them to play at if we want to challenge in the league and in Europe. That's just a very sobering reality. So we need to get in better players. It's as simple as that. And I believe that if Danny Rule gets in some of his own players, I think that's when we judge him. But until then, I think he's the right man for the job. I think he's done the very best with what he has. And this is on the players for me, Stevie. It's not on Danny Rule. And in terms of any hope or like a spark of optimism from these guys, we see it in flashes. We see it in flashes. We see it in games now and again, but we don't see it consistently, perpetually, continually, again and again from one game to the next. We don't see our team with incremental measured improvements as time goes on from one game to the next. We don't see that. We see a slight improvement and then we come back again. You know, it's the whole old cliche of, 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. That's what it is with these guys. We're not seeing a gradual improvement in anybody's quality, either individually or collectively.
Okay, let's go back to something I said before. I stand by it. This is not on Danny Rule, and when he has this quality of player in front of him, I don't think there's any way that you can put him in the firing line for this. However, let's be clear. This isn't a case of a free pass for Danny Rule. Obviously, there's things that need to be changed. Do I think perhaps at times he's a wee bit defensive in that? Yes. Because I think that he's trying to mask what is a really poor collection of players. Have we really seen them get going? Absolutely not. So there's a real risk to this. Of course there is. We're about to play Motherwell and St Mirren, which are going to be really tricky games. Then we have Celtic, then we have a double against Aberdeen, which very quickly could become in a situation where nobody's got any faith in Danny Rule. And that's just where we are. A very bad run here, and this could be, well, he's not going to be the answer to it. I'm not naive enough to not realise how Rangers works. My point overall is, Kenny, that I just don't think this is on him because of the recruitment. Now, if we all sit here for 5 months and say the recruitment's absolutely awful, and then Danny Rule comes in and we say, well, we're playing rubbish and we expect them to do better, how can you expect them to do better when every single one of us says we should empty this squad and everything else? So is he not doing better by getting the results he has in 20 out of 24 points before today because the squad's so limited? I would argue he is. So that's my point on it. Do I think, though, that we're heading in another impossible situation for this club where do we trust somebody, again with more money, to only find out in 5 months' time that he's not the one and he's not the answer, etc.? So, yeah, we are caught in, I would say, the same situation that we have done in recent years with the manager, with the head coach, with the players. It's Groundhog Day that keeps repeating it until we get transfer windows right, until we make it different. Every single manager is going to face the same question, and questions of Rule are fair, but there's context to it as well. And we can't criticise and say empty this squad and get rid of all of them and say, aye, but at the same time, Danny Rule's doing shite and we should get more out of them. How's that possible when the players aren't good enough?
Everybody's entitled to their opinions on everything, Rangers. We understand that. For me, you have a situation here where you've hired an absolute nightmare manager or head coach at the start of the season, who's had a decent enough say, I would imagine, in the recruitment. Underestimated our league, underestimated the challenges that come with being a Rangers player. And is Danny Rule perfect? No, probably not. But you cannot genuinely turn around and say that. Well, I'll put it a different way. The proof is in the pudding when it comes to European football. And Rangers over the last 7 or 8 years have been very tidy in European football. This squad is not. This squad is poor at that level. You've had 2 managers or 2 head coaches trying to get results at a European level with this squad of players. That tells you, for me personally, just my opinion, that is down to the ability that our players have. And we don't win big games, Stevie. We can look back now, and if you're being really honest, right back to Michael Beale's time, we just don't win big games. Those games that you have to win, we are found wanting all the time. And this season is no different, to that. And we can't keep blaming head coaches or managers at our football club when they're doing the job with one hand tied behind their back. And unfortunately for Danny Rule at this minute in time, you can only urinate with the appendage you've got. And that's just the way you can see it. You can't say anything else about this. The talent's not there. You look at guys like Miovski, who you think is going to turn up and do a job, did nothing today. Chermiti, 10 million quid, did nothing today. Max Aarons, a Premier League player, did nothing today. Tavernier, he's been here 10 years, disappointing today. You could just go on and on and on. It's not, I don't know how you can turn around and say that today is down to Danny Rule's decision making, because at the end of the day, you've lost a goal in the first goal down to individual basic errors. Fundamental defending is not being done at that goal all over the place, from the first corner, from the corner to the being 3-on-2 to going to 2-on-1, not coming out to stop the cross, the wrong person marking. And I know it's sort of zonal and partial man marking now, but we're all over the shop. And it's a fine header, and the boy takes it well. The second goal is down to an individual error from Jack Butland, where he's just not set himself properly. I'm pretty certain he's not expecting Shanklin to strike the ball from there. I think he's expecting the cutback, so he's just not set himself. Bad mistake from Jack, and we've seen it over the piece, particularly last season, that he's got that in him. I just feel that it's one of those things at this moment in time that Rangers, again, for the umpteenth time since we started this podcast, Stevie, I'm going to say this, but almost at a crossroads again. But what do you do? Because you are in a situation here where you've got this transfer window coming up, and you actually sit there and say, right, it's kind of absolute priority that we finish in the top two. If I'm being honest now, I'm not convinced that's going to happen. I genuinely am not convinced that's going to happen. This run of fixtures that we have, coming up over the next 3 weeks is going to tell us an awful lot about where we actually are. And if Danny Rule can find, results out of these, how can you blame him? Because I genuinely, I said this a couple of weeks ago on this podcast, I genuinely believe that we're playing like a mid-table Premier League side. That's what we're turning, if you look at our results over the course of the season, we've not won half our games at all. We're just a poor team. And I don't understand how anybody, and I understand that opinion and debate about the manager is good. It is good. But I don't understand how you can literally instantly go straight to Danny Rule and say he's the problem, he's got to go. That's not, for me, that you've got to take the overall situation into context and say that, by goodness, what a job we've got in January to try and fill some holes in the squad, because we are a poor team. You could have the old scenario of Pep and Alex Ferguson trying to manage this team. They're not going to get great results because the characteristics of a good Rangers player aren't there, mate.
Yep, and which is exactly my point when I say that I can't blame Danny Rule for this. Is he 100% infallible? He's not. Amrit, next couple of games, this is the difficulty of this 7-game run. Motherwell, St Mirren, Celtic away, Aberdeen at home, Aberdeen away. In 5 games' time, we're going to find out exactly where we lie. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be an extremely difficult run. Rangers need to bounce back with victories over Motherwell and St Mirren. There's absolutely no other option. We need to see what happens elsewhere. We're going to be 12 behind Hearts. We're going to be 6 behind Celtic. Once again, we're back to chasing. If you have a really bad run in this 5, you could find yourself further down the table. That's the reality we're in.
Yeah, I mean, we're already fourth, Stevie. I suppose one of the good things is that they have 6 days now until we play Motherwell on Saturday. It's Christmas time, so maybe the players will go away, spend some quality time with their families, decompress, get themselves back up for it again for the weekend, because we need to bounce back quickly. We haven't got time to wallow in self-pity. We've just got to get on with the job in hand, and it's a real challenge against Motherwell as well, because they're an informed team. They're playing some lovely, lovely football, and like everybody coming to Ibrox now, nobody's scared, so they'll be very, very buoyant and up for it. And then 3 days later, we've got St Mirren on the Tuesday night. So these fixtures are coming thick and fast, Stevie. So they really need to bounce back, and we need to see some character and some fight from these guys, because otherwise we could find ourselves in some pretty dire straits come the end of the year. And then we go to Parkhead, and then that double header against Aberdeen as well. So there's no easy games of these 5. They're all challenging, tough games, and they're really going to push us to our limits. And at the moment, we don't look like we're up for that challenge, Stevie, if I'm honest, these guys. But they're going to have to prove something now, and I think Danny Rule will identify that. And I would like to think he's going to go through these guys and say, listen, you're not only embarrassing yourselves, you're embarrassing me, you're embarrassing the club, you're embarrassing everything that we as an institution stand for. Does that not mean something to you? Do you have no shame? Can you go home at night and look your wife in the eyes and look at your children and not be ashamed of the lack of effort that you're giving as a father and as a husband? And when you see these fans who have got pictures of you on their walls and worship the ground you walk on, does that not fill you with some sort of responsibility that you owe something to these people? Like, what level of reality do these guys operate on? It really, really upsets me, Stevie, because it's all there for them. They're on the cusp of being able to really turn the season around and make it mean something, and they're just failing at the second game out of 7. So where's the fight? Where's the heart? Where's the passion? Where's the desire? Where is this? They should be bleeding for us, Stevie, and they're not.
Yeah, I don't think it comes down to any of that. I just think it comes down to a complete lack of desire, Amrit, in complete all honesty for you. Yeah, I don't know really what else we need to say. Sunday show is on this evening at 7 p.m. And they will go over this game more and more. We're back tomorrow evening. Yeah, I've got to laugh, honestly, at the happy clapping stuff. I'm not sure I've said anything wrong today, guys, in this, because I've said that the players aren't good enough and this isn't on a manager, but the manager's not infallible and there's questions to ask about him as well. I don't see how that's wrong, folks. I don't see how that's happy clapping. I've literally sat here and said all season this team is absolutely garbage. So yeah, happy clapping. No, I don't buy that. It's a really pathetically weak thing to say as well. Danny Rule might not be the answer. We're going to figure it out absolutely soon. But what we will find out, or what we will have confirmed to us in the next coming 5-6 games, is that this team is not good enough. And the position of the summer is the reason why we're here. The absolute waste of £40 million. If that makes me a happy clapper, then that's absolutely fine. We will continue to cover it as best we can. It's a painful afternoon. I realise that nobody enjoys these moments. In a Rangers persuasion, we have to try and pick ourselves up. We have to try and get results against Motherwell and St Mirren. Kenny, appreciate it as always, mate.
Never easy these, Stevie. You know that yourself. Never nice to come on after a defeat and try and dissect what you've just watched. But the happy clapping stuff, I again told you this before, the comments are full of angry people and upset guys, and I understand it. And we keep saying this, Stevie, you're all entitled, everybody's entitled to their opinion when it comes to Rangers, but to turn around and suggest that there's anybody on here happy clapping, I'd suggest you go back and listen to it again tomorrow and hear what we've actually said, instead of just hearing what you want to see sometimes, because we've kind of stuck the boot in today. I don't really understand how you can turn around and say that, but listen, it's just people are disappointed, and all I can say is to shank on the Hearts fan that's on the chat there. Have a nice night, mate. You thoroughly deserve it, and yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Well, I know the boys are on and Cheryl are on tonight, but we'll be back tomorrow to dwell on this a little bit more. But yeah, Thanks for having me on. And yeah, going to go and make my dinner now.
Amrit, thanks very much, mate, as normal.
No, thanks for having me, Stevie. I've got a big tub of ice cream in the freezer, and I'm just going to go and eat my emotions now because I'm absolutely devastated. So yeah, ice cream makes everything better, hopefully.
Yeah, don't do that. You'll end up fat and then have to lose weight like I did. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Folks, thanks for joining us as always. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to the show. Fast approaching 12,000 YouTube followers, which we really appreciate. For members only, recorded episode 5 of the Rangers years with Chris Burke this morning. Fantastic chat with Chris. Chris was at Rangers for around 8 years, and we had a great chat about everything from Alex McLeish to Champions League to Helicopter Sunday to League Cup wins to Walter Smith. It was a fantastic insight from Chris Burke. So really, really enjoyed that. I feel like the Rangers years we've went Stevie Naismith, Mark Haitley, Gordon Smith, Davy Robertson and Chris Burke. I feel like we're bringing some real quality insight in there. So I hope people are enjoying it. If you want to become a member, you can. Simply by going to our YouTube page and signing up. So thank you, everyone. Tough one to take. Nobody enjoys a Rangers defeat, that's for sure. Nobody's opinion is spot on. We're all searching for answers. We're all wanting ultimately what's best, and that is a winning Rangers team. The truth and reality probably is that's quite a bit away, and there's a hell of a lot of work to be done. Folks, have a good Sunday, and don't forget Sunday show tonight at 7 p.m. We're back tomorrow on the Monday as well at 7 p.m. Take care for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show.